What's going on, guys? Balkan Architect here, and in today's video we're going to be talking about different types of floor structures in Revit. So floors can get overlooked quite a bit just because they're so simple to make in Revit. They're really straightforward, but when you think about it, floors do have some sort of a structure, and it's probably quite important to think about that. So I decided to create just one video that would show off how to create all of the different types of floor structures in Revit. So I'm going to be showing you how to create a simple concrete slab. I'm going to be showing you how to create a concrete slab with metal decking that's then held in place by some steel beams. I'm going to be showing you how to create a concrete slab on concrete beams. We're going to be covering wood framing floors and then also a waffle floor, type, and just how to set that up, and then how to set up the positions of the columns. Now also one floor type that I'm not going to be showing you in this video, and that is the prefabricated floor. And the reason why I'm not going to include that is because I already have a video on that topic where I show you how to create this floor. So if you're interested in that, I'm going to link it up in the card above, so just make sure to open that up, and if you're interested, just check it out. So in this video we're just going to be going over 5 of these. Now before I get started with this tutorial, I would just like to ask you to check out balkanarchitect.com. It's going to be the first link just below this video, and also it's going to be available up in the cards above. That's where you can find all of my Revit courses. I have courses for different skill levels, starting from beginner through intermediate and advanced level skills. In Revit I cover vastly different topics. There is over 120 hours of content, and I'm adding more each month. And then also there, just recently I have added some families, so you can actually purchase some really high quality, hyper realistic families that can improve your renderings and make your workflow much better. So check that out if you're interested. And then finally, make sure to like this video, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell icon, not for me and not for you, but for the alpaca, because that's what makes them happy. Okay, so without any further ado, let's jump into Revit, and as you can see here I am at Revit's home screen. So for the first one, that's going to be the concrete floor slab, let's just open up a new model. So you go here to models, you go to new, and then here for the template file, I'm going to be just using the custom Balkan Architect template. Now if you're interested in checking out my templates, I have a couple of them on my website, so again that's going to be the first link just below this video, so check it out if you're interested. Anyways, I'm just going to use this one, click OK, and then let's let Revit start up. Now, as soon as Revit starts up, we have a couple of options when it comes to floors. So here on the Architecture tab, you have the Build panel, and here we have the floor, and you can expand that menu, and here you can see that we have a few more options. So we have our regular architectural floor, but then also we have the structural floor. So the difference between these is that this one can be used later on in some structural calculations and so on, so you can use that structural floor for a lot of these projects where you want to kind of have the whole structure figured out as well. It's not only architecture. So I'm just going to use that one, and then here in the properties panel we have a few options, and for example one of the simplest one is probably one of the generic ones. So let's use the generic 150 millimeter, and then I can just create a simple rectangle, and there we go. It's very straightforward. We have our floor. If I hit finish, there we go. And because we have used that structural floor, as you can see here, it gets these kind of load direction arrows that are going to appear over here. So that's something that you're going to see only with structural floors. If I were to use just a regular floor, just like this, you can see that that one doesn't have that tag. And if you don't like it, you can just hit delete and it's gone. Okay, so now to adjust the concrete slab, we need concrete, so I'm just going to go here to edit type, and then here I'm just going to go into structure, go into edit, and go to material, and here I'm just going to, let's expand this, go to concrete, let's see, yeah, here we have like the basic concrete or concrete cast and suit. Let's click OK, OK, apply, OK. And there we go. We have a simple concrete slab, which you can use in a lot of different projects where you require this type of a floor. Okay, so we have kind of the first one, the easy one out of the way, and now things are starting to get interesting. So I'm just going to select this existing floor that I have created, and then what I'm going to do is go here to the properties panel, and then I'm going to switch to the concrete with metal deck. Now this type of construction is usually seen in when you have a steel structure, but you still want to have a concrete floor, and then you use this metal deck, and let me go to level 1 and run a section through this, just like that. Go to fine level of detail. Okay, I think it's going, yeah, it's going in the other direction. So let's go back here. Let's rotate this one. Perfect. Okay, so here if I zoom in, as you can see, this is that metal deck. So what this basically is, it's just some sheet metal, and then that sheet metal is kind of has basically it's used for reinforcement, and then you pour concrete on top of that, and below that you can just have regular steel beams. So this is that type. Now obviously you can adjust it. You can go here into edit type, and here you can go into structure, and here, as you can see, you have that metal deck. You can expand that, you can change the material if you want, but yeah, this is what that metal deck is. And also what you'll see below here, we have the structural deck properties, and we have the deck profile and the deck usage. So here is bound layer above, and then we have the standalone deck. So this is basically referring to, if I only expand this preview window, oops. Okay, so if I expand this preview window, as you can see here, basically we're pouring concrete inside kind of the little ribbed metal deck. Now, if I change this from bound layer above to standalone deck, it's just going to place that deck below, and then the concrete on top is kind of separate from that. So it can be perhaps a prefabricated concrete piece or something like that. So let me just go back to this, and then also here you have the profiles. Obviously you can load different ones in. This one is the standard one, and I'm just going to go with that one. Click OK, apply, OK, there we go. So that's the metal deck. Now, as I said, it usually sits on a some sort of a steel framing. So let's go back into level 1, and then here in level 1, what I'm going to be doing is just adding that steel framing, or adding the steel beams. So I'm just going to go here to structure, and then in structure, let's go to beam system. Here in the beam system, you go to the properties, and here you can assign which beam type you want to use. Currently we have the C channel. Let's see, do we have something more interesting? Let's see, just something a little bit better. Yeah, perhaps something like this will look nicer. And then you can create a rectangle like this. Now in this case, it's showing you the direction of kind of the span direction, and you can see that it's going perpendicular to the section, and our decking is already going perpendicular to the section. So we want it to go perpendicular to that decking, which means we want to flip this. So you can just go here to beam direction, and then you can use pick lines, pick this line. So now this is going to be the beam direction. It's going to go like this vertically. And then also here you can set up the pattern or the layout. So I can set it at, I don't know, 1.2 meters, just like that. Hit apply, finish, go to the 3D view. This is what that looks like. Obviously it's a little bit high, so you want to bring it down. So you can just come in here and give it, I don't know, minus 0.2 meters offset from top. Okay, it should go a little bit lower. Let's see, is it 2.1? I think it's 2.1. Yeah, there we go. So now you have that concrete with metal decking below on steel beams. Now you will notice that here in the section we can see that metal decking, but we don't see that in 3D view, and that's just the downside of this whole approach. It's just not visible, so just something to keep in mind. You cannot really turn on the visibility of this metal decking, which is quite annoying if you ask me. Moving forward, the next one is going to be concrete beams, and on top of that we have a concrete slab, something that's quite popular, something that you're probably going to see most often in the office buildings or just apartment buildings, and we can actually use what we already have here. So what I'm going to do here is select that beam system that we have, just like this. So the beam system usually highlights as well, it highlights all of the beams with these dashed lines, so it's really easy to see what you have selected. So I'm just going to click on that. Go here to the properties panel, and then just for the beam type I'm going to switch this to a concrete beam. Now I think I have one here, so yeah, I have well, actually I have a couple, so let's use this one. Click apply, okay. There we go. So now we have those beams. Now these are quite large, so I can select these and then make the distances a bit larger. So 1.8, even 2.4 I think looks decent enough. Yeah. And then you can just select the floor above. Obviously it's not going to be metal decking because you're kind of going to be connecting the beams with the floors. So what you want to do is expand this, and let's go back to our kind of generic one that we had originally. And then what I'm going to do is select this and just go to that offset and go down to 0. Now as you can see, these beams are, even though they're going kind of on top of them, if I select this, as you can see, this beam, it's basically hosted on top here, the beam system. As you can see, the beam system is in line with the top line, but basically Revit just kind of connected these two together. Also, if it doesn't do that, you can use join geometry to kind of connect these two, but here it already did that, so we don't have to do that. So it does make sense to use the same concrete material. So this one is, let's see, this one is cast in place gray. So I'm just going to Control C that material, select the floor above, go to edit type, and then here in the structure, in the edit, I'm just going to select this and then paste. So Control V to paste that material, and also let's make it a bit thicker. Let's do 18. Click OK, apply, OK. And now as you can see, it's the same material, and now everything is kind of lining out flush and everything looks good. So it's really good that Revit does that kind of out of the box. It adjusts everything for you, so you don't have to do it. So there we go. That's the concrete beams with concrete slab on top. Okay, moving forward, let's now turn this into a wood construction, and it's actually fairly similar, pretty much the same thing. So again, we come here to the beam system, we select the beam system, we go to the properties, and then here for the beam type, we'll search for wood. Now, in this case, we do have some timber beams, but I'm actually not happy with any of the ones that are here. Now, this might be a good point to show you what to do when you don't have the correct beams loaded in. And now, because I'm using my custom Balkan Architect template, I already have most of the beams that I need. Now, if you're not using that template, you probably don't have any of the beams loaded in. So how do you load in the beams and then use them? Well, it's actually just by going here to the Insert tab, you go to Load Family, and then here in the Load Family, if I just go back a few steps, so you go to Libraries. I'm just going to go to the US Metric Library. You scroll down and you find the Structural Framing. Open that up, and then here you can go to Wood, and then you can search for different type of framing. So you can use, I don't know, like timber. Open that up, and then here you can see different types, so different dimensions, and you can pick out what works for you. Now you can load more of them in. You just hold the Control key, so you can load more of them in, or you can just load one. Actually, I'm not happy with this one. Let me go to Load Family again. Let's try this one. Hit open. I prefer the dimensions here a little bit more. So here we have this one, I don't know, like 64 by 286. So let's use that one. I'm just going to click OK. And now, once you select the beam system, because you have loaded in that beam, here when you go to beam type, I should be able to see that. Let's see. I mean, it should be somewhere here. It can be a little bit tricky to find because I have so many of them. Here it is. So we can assign that. As you can see, it's quite small, so it should be closer together, perhaps, I don't know, like 0.8 meters. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. Now for the floor, obviously it should be made out of wood and it should be a lot thinner. So you go here into edit type, and then we can, well, let's just adjust this one. We don't have to duplicate. So you go to the material, you pick out the wood material that you want to use. So I don't know, just go with whatever you want to use. And then here for the thickness, let's go with 0.06. Now this is in meters, so this would be like 6 centimeters. Click OK, apply, OK. And now for the wood, you actually want the wood to be above the beams. Now I suggest you never move the floor up. So you never give a positive offset to the floor, you give a negative offset to the beam system. The reason for that is because if you go to the section, your floors, the top line of your floor, the top face of your floor is going to be lying flush with that level 1 floor plan, or any other floor plan, or any other level. So you don't want to move that up and you mess things up. So you want to select the beam system and then drop the beam system by the value of the floor, which is 0.06, and then when I moved it up, so you just want to add minus in front of that, making it negative. Hit apply. There we go. So now we have this wooden floor, and yeah, that pretty much gets the job done. Obviously you can add to it, but this is kind of the simplest approach. Now it's time for the fun one. So this whole idea for this video is because I actually wanted to show you how to create this waffle floor, and then I thought, well, why not include the rest of the floors? But this one is the one that I find most interesting and most fun, so now let's actually do that. So I'm just going to select the floor and the beams that we have created so far. I'm just going to delete that. Yeah, just like that. Delete this section as well for now, and now we can get started with our waffle floor. So to get us started, I'm actually going to be placing some columns first. So for those columns, let's go here to structure, let's go to structural column, and we only have a few types of columns, but the one that I want to use isn't included here. So let us then go to load family. And then here, let's go back a few folders, go to US metric, and then here in the US metric, let's scroll down and find structural columns. Open that up. Let's find some concrete columns here, and here we have the ones that have this kind of drop caps and has this whole thing on top, and this is actually what I want to use. So let's go to open. And the downside of this column is, as you can see, it's not square, it's just a rectangle, and I actually want it to be square. So what I'm going to do is just select this column, go into edit type, go into duplicate, and then let's go here to 300 by 300, let's call it like that, click OK. And then here for the H, so let's set that to 3, so it's 3 by 3. Then this dimension, the capital top width, let's drop it down to 0.9, so 0.9. And then here the drop panel width, it's 1.5, 1.5. Okay, the rest of this looks okay, so let me go here to the 3D view in the preview, just to double check if everything looks okay. Okay, it doesn't, looks kind of odd. Let's see. Let's go back here. Okay, now it looks okay. Yeah, everything seems to look fine. So yeah, I think we have this completely done. So let's click OK. And now it's time to place this column. So I wanted to actually go here to height. Let's make it go up to level 2, and then let's place one here. I'm just going to hit the escape key a couple of times, select this one, go to copy, and then let's copy it multiple times. I'm just going to go to, I don't know, like 4 meters or something like that. Let's go again, 4. I think this is enough. Let's go to copy, and then let's go down 4, and again 4. And let's go to the 3D view, see what that looks like. So this is what we have. So we have a bunch of these columns that we have these little kind of caps on top. And this is what we're going to be using for the construction. Okay, moving forward, let's now go to level 2, which has kind of the tops of those columns. And now it's time to add the concrete beams. So for the concrete beams, let's go to the beam tool. And here for the beam tool, let's search for concrete, and we have this one, the 300 by 600 millimeters, and I'm just going to add that type, and I'm just going to drop this down to 2, so it's going to be 200 millimeters wide. So let's go here to duplicate, let's call this one the 200 by 600, that's okay. We're going to adjust probably the 600 later on, but for now let's leave it as is. This is going to be 2, so click OK. Perfect, and then I'm just going to go from one side to the other, and this is what we have. Also here you can switch this to fine level of detail to see things better, but you can see that we cannot really edit anything here. That's because everything kind of stops below level 2, so that's why we cannot select it. Luckily there is a way around this. You just go here to the properties panel. When nothing is selected, you scroll down to your view range, you go to edit, and then you just set the view range to unlimited, both bottom and view depth, and apply. Okay, there we go. So once we have this in place, I'm just going to copy this from this point here, and then copy this from this point here. There we go. Select the whole thing, go again to copy multiple times, go from the, you can go from, let's see, let's go from here, copy it there. Did it get the correct position? Okay, I guess it did. Copy it here as well. And now for the ones in between, let's go here again to copy. 1, 2, let's place 3 of them, hit the escape key a couple of times, and then what you want to do next is go to the aligned dimension. You want to go from the center to here, to center, and again to center, place it here, click equalize, the delete key, unconstrained. Yeah, this is probably not the most correct way to do it. If you're a structural engineer, I'm sorry, but I'm just showing you how this is done in Revit, and then you can kind of use correct dimensions and so on, and correct calculations. But anyways, let's select these 3, go to copy, copy from here to here, just like that. And now you just want to select all of these beams, and then you want to go to rotate, copy, and you can just rotate them by 90 degrees. Wait for a few moments, and that's what we get. Go to the 3D view, and this is what those look like. Now, as you can see, we will have to kind of readjust them a little bit. That's okay. That's not, I don't see that as a problem. But anyways, let's place just a small floor on top of this now. So you go back to level 2. Now you go to floor. The floor is going to be our, let's use our generic one, go into edit type, and here I'm just going to change it back into concrete. Cast in place gray, click OK, apply, OK, and you just place that concrete slab on top, hit finish. And now let's use the section tool and run a section through this whole thing, perhaps through the middle, like so, or not the actual middle. If I switch this to wireframe, you will see that now we can see the beams. So let's go through this place here, or let's go here. Open up that section, and here you can see that we have that floor on top. Okay, it's too thin, so let's open up the floor, go into edit. So the floor we can go with 0.12 or something like this. It doesn't have to be really thick because the beams are so close together. But anyways, the beams, as you can see, the beams go way too low. So the beams are currently going from top down to here, but if I go to the measure tool, they should really stop at here where the little cap on top of that column is. So that's 420 millimeters. So you can select just one of the beams, go into edit type, and now we can just rename this one to 420, and then this should be 0.42. hit apply. Okay, and there we go. Now if you go to the 3D view, now everything looks correct, and now you can see we have this wonderful waffle structure. I really like the way that these look, and obviously they're kind of reinforced around the columns just to give it extra strength. I think this looks really good, and I don't think it's too complicated to kind of complete this, so I think it's a good enough method. So there we go. That's how you create all of these different types of floors in Revit. Now, if you're interested in this project file that I have here and the rest of my project files, I have over like 500-600 files so far. All of them are available on my Patreon page. It's going to be the link just below this video for that page, and also I'm going to link it up in the cards above. So check it out if you're interested. Thank you for watching, guys. Make sure to check out my website, balkanarchitect.com, for more Revit courses. There I have over 120 hours of content, and I'm adding more each week. Make sure to subscribe for more videos, and also I've added a video over there that might interest you as well.